critically, irrespective of where you are in your career ladder, where you are in your journey, life journey. Just imagine your childhood. So when all of us were children, we all had greater dreams, right? But however, one thing you may realize by now is that most of the childhood dreams that we had gone back is not being a possibility so far, right? So where I want you to start thinking about the branding is there, right? Because the branding is pretty much a tool, add-on that you need to adopt in your life and career on top of what you are really passionate of. Now, one problem that we face as professionals is due to various reasons, right? Most of us might not be in the right job, might not be doing the most passionate thing that you would like to do as a person, right? So your branding would start with that. Now, this was my realization starting from 2000, right? In the last 21 years' time, one thing that I have realized is that I tried a lot of things, right? I tried a lot of things that I thought that will make me happy. But what happened was that throughout that 21 years of journey, I figured that anything that I would initially think that will help me to grow and be happy as a person might not be the reality, right? So I might pick up something that I'm not really passionate of, right? And even though I'm passionate of something that I pick up, I might not be at my full potential, right? So this is what happened. So I started my career as a lecturer. I was a full-time lecturer for 7 years. In the first 3 years, I struggled a lot, right? So when I started struggling, I wanted to somehow face it and come out of it. So I became a grade facilitator after 3 years, and then I went up to the postgraduate lecture. So when I became a postgraduate lecturer, then I realized that this is not what I actually would like to do full time, right? I knew lecturing is one thing that I really have to keep doing, but I knew that it's not the only thing that I could do, right? Then I went on to the software development. So I became a software developer. After being a software developer, then I became lead and a manager and so on, right? Now, at this point, I have surpassed all these stages in my life journey, and I have come to a sweet spot where I really enjoy, right? So if you ask me, what are you doing, Niro, at this point, right? It's nothing to do with the job that I do. It's basically, it's like hair racing, right? When I talk about it, it's hair racing experience for me. What I do right now is work with people, right? That is what I love about. The second thing that I do is I innovate. What do I innovate? I innovate the concepts and practices that are helping people around me, right? So this involves the work that I do in my full-time job. This involves the lecturing that I do. This involves the workshops and the seminars like this. This involves the one-on-one coaching that I do. This involves big keynotes that I do globally, right? So everything is connected at this point, right? So this is what I want you to start thinking initially, right? So go back to your childhood. Start reflecting back on your childhood dream. What did you want when you were a child? What were your biggest dreams, right? I think that will give you a lot of clues what makes you happy. You might be on the right job, you might be on the right responsibilities, you might not as well. So it's a critical reflection that I ask you to do. So with that, let's move on. Akila, if you can move on to the next slide. Now, when you see this picture, what do you kind of think of it, right? Just think yourself, right? What does this picture tell you, right? Let me help you to narrate a story around this. Now, imagine there was one thing that you have to do prior this time, right? Depending on your age, right? It could be few decades, it could be your young age, right? starting from your childhood. So you missed one thing, and just imagine that this is the last moment that you're going to learn about it. This is the last opportunity given to you in order to master this single thing. That is what I'm going to talk about. So this is something which is not included in most of the academic curriculums, right? This is not something that someone will come and tell you this is exactly you have to do. This is something you are going to figure out yourself, right? Now, in order to do this, I have a little guest with me. This is a surprise for you, and this is my 11-year-old daughter. And let me ask my daughter to come on stage.
Hello everyone, I'm Madampitige, 11-year-old, a big dreamer, singer and the speaker.
Yeah, together with the Hamsa, we are gonna take you through a kind of a shocking roller coaster journey, telling you our own story that we went through in the last 3 years. When the Hamsa was 8 years old, myself and my spouse, my wife, thought, hey, what can we do for our daughter, which is 8 years old by then? Then we came up with a strategy where we thought, hey, while she's going to do her regular studies, let us get her to jump out of her rat race, right? Rat race in Sri Lanka is basically going after the exams and thinking that, just going through the academic studies is the only way to grow, right? So particularly, I'm against that a bit, and I'm thinking, if someone wants to grow, they need to invest their personal time and energy on it, and more importantly, need to understand their personal mastery, right? What they are really good at, what they are really passionate of, what can they do individually. So this is what we are going to talk about, right? Now, this is the single thing that I spoke about. What is it? That is personal branding. Personal branding is a way of positioning yourself in a competitive environment, right? So this is the key difference that you see between a big brand and a cheaper brand. So if you look at a cheaper brand, right, and another brand, like say Nike, right, the key difference is mainly the way they position themselves, right? Looking at their customer segmentation, coming up with the value proposition that will address the needs of the targeted customer segment. Now, if you look at two items from a cheaper brand and a big brand, and you won't notice a lot of differences, right? So it is mainly the positioning strategy. Now, think of you as a brand. If you want to create a brand yourself, doing what you do without doing any extra qualification, I'll tell you a way to grow, right? I'll basically tell you a way to optimize your value by 50% instantly. This is why I'm saying double your value. And is assured that, right, if you learn the art of positioning and personal branding without getting any accolades, without getting any certification further, right, you're going to double your value. It's guaranteed, and it's actually more than that, right? So within 2 years' time, I was able to triple my management salary just because of branding, nothing else. I did not do any program. And I'm talking about the management salary I gained in a big company, big corporate like HSBC. I was a manager at HSBC 5 years ago, right? After leaving them, I managed to double and triple my package just because of the positioning strategy. So that is what we are going to talk about. So let's move on. Akila, let's move on to the next one.
You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Like what I do here. Being just 11 years old, I can become a singer, I can become a speaker, I can become anything. Pretty much anything. Anything is possible. My brothers and sisters, you have come a long way. Your hard work, determination, and commitment have taken you here. However, challenge yourself. No one else but yourself. Push harder to be better than yesterday. Dream big. Yet, you got to start now. Let's jump out of our comfort zone. I'm just 11 years old, yet trying to jump out of the rat race. So do you. You must jump out of your comfort zone. If you're looking for a success story, or a living proof, or a dreamer, or an executor, here I am. I strongly believe that I am doing what I am doing due to a few basics done right. Let me and my dad help you figure this out. Because if it works for me, it would surely work for you.
All right. So thank you, Damsa, for that. And now, what we're saying is simple. What we say is that if you want to be a great brand, this particular quote from Zig Ziglar nails it. What Zig Ziglar says is, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Now, this is one of the big problems that we all go through, right? Wanting to be great, wanting to build up a greater global brand, we wait for the perfect situation. That is not going to happen because the market is moving fast. So if you are not starting right now, doing the right thing, you are going to lag behind, right? So with this, we want to share with you another short video. So if you can go into the next one. So let me share the story behind this particular slide. Now, this is a story of my and my daughter when she was 10 years old. So we were driving. I was driving her to her school, and I stopped the car at the usual place where I would stop it, park it, and then drop my daughter to the school. So on this particular day, I just suggested, hey, my daughter, let's do a quick video. She was pretty much surprised about the session because we were almost on time. So I said, it's just 1 minute, like within 1 minute, we are going to do a video. So we stopped the car, right? Started recording through the mobile phone, right? The video was just 48 seconds. And after dropping her on my way, I basically posted it on LinkedIn, and it is on LinkedIn. I have featured it in on my profile. You can have a look at that video. So this is what the video talks about, right? The video talks about the fact that the richest place on the earth is the graveyard. That's because all the dreams, the inventions, the explorations, the achievements, big goals that we want to achieve are buried as people die. Now, the question is, should we let that happen to ourselves, right? I'm sure every one of you have greater dreams. Every one of you have greater purpose in life. You have greater goals. You definitely want to do much better, right? You realize much higher potential that you have as an individual. Now, the question is, are you living up to that? Are you reaching your potential? And ask this question. This is a very strong question, right? The question I suggest you asking every day is that when you die, what do you want to feel? What do you want your colleagues and your family members to think of you? Do you want to feel that, I had big dreams, but I have never achieved them? Do you want to feel that I had a big dream of building a greater brand, but I never did, right? Don't let that happen to you. So here's the secret. The secret is you got to start right now. If you are focusing the right way, the things that you do while listening to me is very different to the things that are done by a person who does not have a strategy around what the person is doing, right? If you're someone noting down the key pointers, if you're looking for the clues that myself and my daughter are going to share with you, right? You are one step ahead than the rest. Because if 100 people attend this session, right? Not that all the 100 people are really understanding what their strategy is, what they want to become in the coming years, right? So my ask, my daughter's ask is think it that way, right? Start asking yourself, hey, what is the biggest thing possible for me? Right? Now imagine, right? So imagine the Hamsa's case study. If you look at it, a case study, right? Now, generally, our perception is that, hey, the Hamsa has to finish her graduation before she speaks to a global audience, right? This is not the first time the Hamsa is speaking. She has gone into multiple global audiences as well as big audiences, right? Physically, in person, and deliver the speeches. Now, the lesson there is that if you really want to do great, the right time is right now, not 1 year later, not 5 years later, not 10 years later, not 20 years later. It's right now. There will be something that you've got to do right now. So look for that. Figure out the strategy around, right? Come up with the strategic actions. As Tony Robbins says, come up with the massive actions, right? So what the Hamsa does here is a massive action for me as a parent. Right? It needs a lot of courage to come and appear in front of a big audience, particularly when it is a global audience, right? So the question for you is, hey, what are the massive actions that I can take? Because you are much ahead of the journey than the Hamsa or me, right? So start thinking, what can I do individually? What is my best potential, right? So with that, let's move on to the next one. So again, the Hamsa.
The next devastating thing that puts you down is your inner voice. Shut your inner voice. I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying, you'll never reach it. Never let your inner voice put you down. Don't let it stop you. Tell your inner voice, you shut up. It's not over until it's done. Let's climb it, everyone.
Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Right, so this is basically the message here, right? So if you want to become great, if you want to do something better than what you are doing, the right time is right now. Again, even during this talk, start looking at the things that you can do in the coming days and weeks, right? So if you have 10 things to be done, right, you are not going to pick up all the 10 things at the same time, but prioritize them, right? Stack them in the priority order. Start figuring out what is the most valuable priority that I can pick right now. Maybe, right? So when the question time comes, when you are given the opportunity to speak up, right? That might be the perfect opportunity for you to start what you want to start doing, right? So when some other opportunity comes soon after this, right? That might be the right time for you to start your journey, right? So if you want to focus right now, concentrate, right? Pay 100% attention on what we are doing here. Get involved yourself and ensure that you get the best out of this particular 1 hour session. And that is what you got to do if you want to see greatness in your life, right? So with this, we are going to say thank you to the Hamsa. The Hamsa has another class to go into. So the Hamsa, thank you very much. Do you have anything to say?
It was my privilege to speak to you. I personally enjoyed it. And take care, stay safe.
Thank you, Hamza. Appreciate your time here. Right, now let's go a bit deeper. Now, doing time check, now it's 11:30. We have 31 minutes.
Yes, that's right.
That's correct. All right. Perfect. So moving on, Akila, if you can just go on to the next slide. Now, here's the thing, right? So let me share you a bit of inspiration from Will Smith. If you have heard or if you haven't listened to Will Smith, I'm surprised. But again, if you haven't focusedly listening to this star, the famous figure, Will Smith, I urge you to go and search on YouTube, Will Smith. There'll be hundreds of motivational and inspirational videos coming from him. So in one instance, this was the time I was looking for a change, transformation in my own life. So I listened to few people like this, right? So you can plot these names down, right? One is Will Smith, the other one is Oprah Winfrey, the third is the person Tony Robbins, another one is Jim Brown, right? So I started listening to these geniuses in the leadership domain, and in one instance, I listened to one of the interviews done with Will Smith. It was a TV interview. You know how Will Smith basically talks. He's very, very energetic and fun. So there was one question asked from him. Will Smith, I know you were tough initial days. What was the secret behind you becoming a global brand? And Will Smith pulls his words and tells me something that's amazing, right? What Will Smith says is this. Think it this way. If you want to build the biggest wall in the world, you're not going to say, hey, I'm building the biggest wall. You're going to say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as the brick could be laid. And you keep doing that day in, day out, so that you'll have the biggest wall. Now, this is the same strategy that works for us. This is the same strategy that works for anyone who has done great, who has become greater brands, right? They haven't achieved the pinnacle of success overnight. If it happens, it's just luckiness, right? That doesn't happen to every one of us, right? Out of 1 million, there will be few people lucky enough to become millionaires, great brands overnight, right? But it will not happen to most of us. So what is the approach that we have to take? It's basically hardworking, right? When you are hardworking, only thing that you need to ensure is that you have a bigger vision, right? In order to achieve your vision, you come up with tiny steps day in, day out, and you do these things as perfectly as possible. When that is done, the result into the next few years is going to be amazing, because what you do is what is mostly needed, what is mostly required for your growth, and you do it. When you keep doing that for a year, 2 year time, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, right? You never realize that you're growing yourself, right, to a level where you never thought of. Now, this is exactly what I do at this point, right? Wanting to be a better brand, continuously grow my brand, right? What I do is that I focus on daily progress, right? I, of course, strategize, visionize, and have a bigger vision and a plan. But my attention is for the day. If I can get the right priorities executed for today, right, I will get my weekly priorities done. I will get my monthly priorities done. I will get my yearly priorities done, right? So remember this. This is the game-changing execution strategy, one step at a time, right? So you would see now it's not about bragging, but I wanted to bring the Hamza as a case study for us, right? The Hamza is very young; she hasn't even done her O-levels yet. But what I'm thinking of her is a bigger dream, right? That she might not realize. right? I want her to buy into that vision. I want her to push herself into a bigger vision than that she thinks possible. So this is exactly what I'm suggesting for all of you, right? So let's move on. Now, so far, right, what I have been talking about are a few basics, I would say. It's nothing specific to the personal branding. But these are the basics, I would say, the pillars of a big building, right? If you consider the brand you build is the biggest building that you want to construct, what we discussed so far are the pillars of that building. So without these pillars, you're not going to do any good, right? So ensure that you pay attention, you pay some great attention on those perspectives. Ensure that you have clarity around those areas before you think of further steps on your personal branding journey. Now, quick activity. I'm not going to ask you to kind of talk about it, but let's do this. I want you to think of 3 words to describe who you are. Put that in a paper, right? In a piece of paper or somewhere on the computer, right? Maybe a Word document, text pad, that whatever it is, right? The important thing is you record the 3 words that you would use to describe yourself. Yeah. So if someone asks you to describe yourself in 3 words, no more than 3 words, what are those 3 words that comes to your mind? So this is very critical. Depending on what the words that you pick out, right, you will know how great you have done so far, right? Now, let's say, I'm assuming, right? Let's say one person has come up with innovative, courageous, achieved, right? So this reflects on the journey, life journey the person has gone through, got it? So the courageousness would indicate that the person has gone through a lot of struggles, right? Somehow overcome all these struggles to be successful. That's why the 3rd word came as achieve, right? So think it that way, right? Think it that way. Pick up the best possible 3 words yourself that describes yourself. Now, during the session, I want you to go back to those 3 words and ask, is that it, right? So let's say you have come up with those 3 words. Now, question you have to keep asking yourself is that all? Is it my end? When I die, are these the top 3 words that I want to remind myself, right? I'm sure your answer is no. I'm sure every one of you would have better words to think of, but they don't come to your mind at this point because you haven't gone up to that level, right? So if you ask someone like Jay Shetty, right, or Praveen or Tony Robbins, what could these 3 words be? Just look into their lives, look into the brands that you admire, look into the brands in the same domain, right? For example, engineering. So if you pick up the most credible personalities and the personal brands around you, then you can actually get the clues out of them, right? Ask question, what are the 3 words that these guys have implemented in their life? Probably your ultimate goal would be those 3 words. Yeah. So let's move on, right? So just get that done yourself. Now here I'm going to share 2 formulas that literally can change any one of your life, irrespective of what accolades that you have gained, what qualifications that you have gained, what achievements you have done in your life, right? The 2 formulas that I'm going to share will surely challenge you, will surely allow you to look at your next step as an individual, as a professional. Now let's move on and see what is the first formula. The first formula is the success formula. Now again, if you search on Google, success formula, there'll be a lot of articles, the blogs, and research papers even talking about the ultimate success formula, right? So if you go to Tony Robbins' teaching, right, Tony Robbins talks about his own success formula. So the success formula that I'm going to introduce is inspired by Tony Robbins' success formula, but there is a bit more onto it. So I have tweaked it a bit, right? supporting and complementing what Tony Robbins is saying. So let's start here. Now, the first thing, if you want to build a greater brand, the very first thing that you have to fix is your belief system. Trust me. This is the very first thing that I had to do with my daughter when she was 8 years old. 8 years is not a time the kid will understand what I'm talking about in terms of growth, right? But that is a good time to fix the mindset, the belief system. Only thing that I tried at that point is just try and have a bigger vision. Think of something that you think it is impossible to achieve, right? Now, what is your belief system? What do you believe that the biggest possibility for you is? So mostly, here is what happens, right? We do great, particularly if you are in the Asian region, continent, right, APAC or any Asian country, our education system does not support us to do great. It supports us to be good enough. Why do I say that? Particularly looking at Sri Lankan education system, right? There are three jobs being respected, right? So you are doing one of them, engineering, right? The second thing is the doctor, being a doctor. Third thing is the lawyer, right? Anything else is being considered a failure. How much you could do, you are going to do personally, the society will look at as if you are not one of the best professionals, right? And frankly, right, what I am doing is never known by my parents even, right? I mean, they don't understand what I'm doing, right? They don't understand the value that I try to deliver, I could deliver potentially. Because, the society has just kept us in a box saying, hey, you got to be successful by becoming an engineer, by becoming a doctor, by becoming a lawyer, right? These are great jobs. Now, in your case, right, you have become one of them. Now, your challenge is checking your belief system and asking, is that it that I want to achieve in my life? Your instinct would say no, but your gut will say this is it, right? So you're going to stop there. Now, and this is where Jim Brown said, most of people end up doing averagely good, not because they don't have goals, but they do have goals which are just easy to achieve. So if you tell yourself, hey, I want to become a doctor, I want to become, let's say, a trainer, I want to become a teacher, I want to become an engineer, I don't think it's impossible, right? With the right commitment, pretty much anyone could become that, right? But the wider question, the broader question you need to ask yourself is much broader than that. What is that question? What is my potential, right? So your belief system should support for you to reach your potential. Trust me, because if you don't think you can be the greatest singer, greatest engineer in the world, the greatest inventor in the engineering field, you're not going to become that, because everything physically created was a mental creation before. So this is where the belief system is more important, right? So you need to fix that first. The second thing is, Akila, the desire. Now this is the other thing, right? Now this is my self-realization. Why I'm able to push harder, even at the age of 43, now I'm 44, with the almost same energy I had in my 20s, is because of this, right? I'm not personally happy where I am, right? It doesn't mean I'm frustrated. It means that my instinct says I have much more potential to serve the globe. I have much potential to do great innovations than this. I have much potential to make a bigger impact to the people around me. Got it? So this got to be the second element that drives you, right? First thing is your belief system, then comes the desire. The third thing is more important. So, Akila, your setup, right? So this is not something that is picked up in the Western community much. This is not considered as a pillar. But I assure, if you are not in the right circle, your growth almost none, right? I wouldn't even say you have a growth. You are going to go backward because the people around you will tell you things like, hey, this is not possible. Are you crazy? Are you going to do this, right? Just keep doing what you're doing, right? Being an engineer is great and just stop there. Now, things like that, right? Why you need to be in the right circle is because you're going to collaborate, co-create, synergize with these people who are having a similar passion. Now, this is why, right, your organizing committee, your forum is a great platform to grow because every one of you has common goals to be achieved. Every one of you, most of you have common vision towards your life, right, your profession. So being in a forum like that will empower you to do more, right? Because your colleagues will help you to do better. They will help you to figure out your mistakes and try to figure out the things that you can do better, right? So ensure that, right, you are within the right circle. Okay, so let's with that, let's move on to the next one. Now, when you have the first three elements, belief system, desire, and your circle fix, the next thing is start with your biggest dream. Now think, what is the biggest thing that I want to achieve in my life? Think of that, right? So don't limit it to a goal that you can easily achieve. Now, this is how you can filter it. If there are 1,000 people around you, 70% of these guys have achieved something and you want to achieve that, don't consider that is your dream. That's not a good enough dream because that's the mediocre dream that you can think of, right? You need to think of something outstanding. You need to think of something that you feel like it's impossible, almost impossible, right? But this is what you want to achieve in your life. Think of that. Start with that and then move on to the next stage. The next stage talks about something called BHAG. BHAG stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. Plus, you need to question what really matters to me, right? Your big, hairy, audacious goal is a 10 to 15-year goal that you want to accomplish as an individual, right? So you have a dream. Let's say when you die, this is what you want to become. Then time box it to 15 years and ask the question, hey, what is the biggest goal that I want to achieve in the next 15 years? Figure that out. So while you're figuring that out, list down 3 to 5 things that mostly matter to you. Example, right? If you are someone who is passionate about knowledge sharing, right? Consider that. One thing that matters to me is serving the community. One thing that matters to me is innovation because I'm born to be an innovator, right? I feel like I don't enjoy any work which doesn't involve challenging innovative areas, right? Again, living a happy life would be another goal that you can say, right? You can say these are three things that matter to me most. Then your big, hairy, audacious goal should be aligned with those three things, right? So moving on, the next thing is even more important. That is developing a strategy. Now, here is your life changing, right? This is the life changing thing, right? Even if you do all the things that the things that we discussed prior to this point, you might not do great if you are not a strategic person, right? So we are creatures of doing tactical stuff, right? But remember that life is got to be strategic. What does that mean? What do I want to achieve in my life? Right? As an individual, as a project management and a branding professional, what do I want to do in my life? Right? So I have to have a strategy around that. Right? So everything that I do, even coming to this particular seminar, should be part of my strategy. And if it is not aligned with my strategy, my answer is no. Right? It is of course aligned. right? That's why I was more than happy to welcome the opportunity, right? So similarly, you got to come up with a strategy for the next few years. From there, now my suggestion is this, right? Don't think longer term, right here. So you have been thinking of your BHAG that is like 10 to 15 years time goal, and then this is the strategy. Develop a strategy for the next 3 to 5 years. From there, come up with the goals for the next 1 year, 12 months. When you have clear set of goals for the next 12 months, then you are going to apply this management methodology. That is PDCA, right? Now, what doesn't work is anticipation. The PDCA is an adaptive methodology. What does that mean? Adaptive approach simply means that you plan something and do, right? You plan, do, then check on your results. Based on the outcome, you adjust your way, right? So there the secret is that you need to make these iterations, right? The time you take to complete one task in a shorter time. So if you spend 3 months to do one thing, that is too long for you to wait, right? So if you can do something within a week time, right? So you plan a talk, you launch it, you test it out, get the feedback, then adjust, right? So that what it means is within a week time, you can actually go through all the 4 stages. It is much better than staying for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, right? Then you go back to your strategic plan, you go back to BHAG, you go back to your team and just validate if you are doing the right thing. So day in, day out, week by week basis, month by month basis, you need to iterate yourself, doing what you really think you should be doing, and then go and validate your strategic plan, right? So this is the success formula, right? This is, again, not just branding, but this is something that you have to put as a foundation before you do anything on branding, right? Let's move on up here to the next slide. So the next formula that I want to share with you is the branding formula. Now, here's the deal, right? So the branding is all about credibility. So this is now, think of me, right? Now, most of you did not know me, did not know my daughter prior to this session, right? You probably would have heard of me. When you saw my name on the flyers, you probably tried learning about me a bit, but you never knew about my daughter, right? The moment my daughter appears, I appears here, you start developing perceptions about me. You started developing perceptions about my daughter. That is exactly what the branding is all about, right? So Jim Brown says the branding is how others feel when they see you and start interacting with you. It's very important, right? Now, whenever you see me, you start developing your own perceptions about my brand, right? So with a bit of preparation, I can lift up that branding, isn't it? The moment you see me, I can give you a bit of greater perception about me. Then, as soon as I start speaking and interacting with you, I have the chance to put that down or take it up, right? So some of you would thought, okay, Niro is good, but maybe when I started talking, you started thinking, hey, Niro is great, right? Maybe you started thinking, okay, Niro is not that great, right? So whatever it is, that is my branding. Now, throughout the 50 minutes talk so far, all what I have been doing is establishing my branding. It's nothing else. Think it this way. If you are noting down anything, if you are trusting anything that I say, that is purely due to the credibility, nothing else. Right? That's the trust I develop with you. That's the bond that I develop between you and me, right? So if you do not have any credibility about me, right? So if you haven't developed any trust about my credibility, you're not gonna care any word that I utter here, right? So this is the formula, right? Branding equals credibility, credibility equals access, access equals power, power equals influence. It's the most critical formula that you need to understand in your life, right? Everything that you do, irrespective of what it is, whether it's engineering related or it's some other domain related, this is the same formula that works, right? If you want to do something, you need to establish credibility first place. Then, when you establish credibility, what it does is it gives you access to the people. Now imagine how I got access to you, right? How did it happen? It happened through the credibility, right? One of my colleagues probably nominated me, right? Then the organizing committee went through my credibility, just validated it. Then you gave me the access to the audience. Now, when I have access to the audience, what do you do? Indirectly, you give power, right? That's why you will give me the presenter board, right? Ask me to talk about something. So that is basically you are empowering me to work with you. When I have power to work with you, I have the opportunity to influence you, right? Now, here's the trick, right? Branding is simply your ability to influence people around you. Think it that way. And that simple formula will change a lot of things that you are doing, right? So this is what I tell my coaches, right? People who have been coached myself. What I tell them is, if you want to grow your brand, all what you have to do is master the art of influencing. You need to develop the art of influencing, right? Working with people and then understanding them and then pitching the right way, the effective way. So that will allow you to sell anything, pretty much anything. It can be an idea, it can be a product, it can be something else, right? Whatever it is, your ability to sell it is totally dependent on your ability to influence people, right? So whenever you start talking to anyone, they all start at a point where they will start the discussion with you with a concern. So we call it circle of concerns, right? So it's the same thing that happened when you met me. So you as much as you're excited about me, right, listening to me, you are a bit concerned what is going to happen. The moment I introduce my 11-year-old daughter, as much as you are excited about it, you are a bit concerned. So our effort was to move you away from circle of concerns to circle of influence, right? Your ability to do this well will reflect on your brand. So your branding is all about your ability to influence. Remember that. How it works is you're not trying to influence directly, right? You are building your credibility first. Then you are getting the access to the people. Then you are getting the power in you, empowerment to work with the people. And that is when you can influence people, right? Let's move on to the next slide. So time check, we have a few minutes. Right, now, one more thing. One more slide, please. Okay. Right. So this could be the last thing that I'm going to talk about for the day. Now, this is coming from my ebook, Double Your Value Through Personal Branding. It's on Amazon. It's actually co-authored with one of the influencers from Australia, who is my colleague, Dino Pashala. So we co-authored this book where it's full of branding strategies and personal growth strategies. So in that book, we came up with this concept after a lot of research. The concept is called branding and onion, personal branding onion. So if you want to develop your branding, right, while you're understanding everything that we have discussed so far, I want you to pay strong attention on this particular diagram, right? Start from the centered circle. The center circle talks about your mindset. Think of yourself, right? Now, based on what you think of your life, what you want to do in your life, what you want to accomplish as a professional, Everything else will depend, right? So if you want to become someone like, let's say, I can't think, like, let's say the best engineer, best engineering consultant in your country, where does it start? Here. Where it starts here is basically in your mind, right? The bigger you think, the bigger you become, right? So if you think, hey, I just want to live a comfortable life, that's what you are going to be. If you think I want to jump out of my comfort zone and do the things that I really thought what I want to do in my childhood, that is what you're going to become. Because remember, this is almost a magical concept, right? Everything physically created was a mental creation before, right? The way you lead your mind, you're going to change your life. The way you lead your mind, you're going to change the world. So this is what you see from greater innovators, right? Elon Musk, right? Why do we see very disruptive things coming out from him? His mindset is set there. He's going to change the things, right? He's going to disrupt the things that he has seen, right? Pretty much the things that others don't believe that is possible. So it's the same concept that you got to apply yourself. The second layer is building your basic brand. So remember that. Building your basic brand simply means this. When someone speaks to you, what is the perception you set in their head about you, right? So I see a few colleagues here, right? So if I look at Kanita, right? Now, if I take a kind of a scenario, right? Now, Kanita was attentively listening to me, and Kanita, you are being visible on my screen, so I see you very clearly, and you are with the camera, right? So the basic brand of Kanita for me is exactly that, right? You want to be present, you want to be attentive, you want to learn from any given opportunity. You're pretty much paying 100% attention in doing whatever you are doing. You get what I'm saying? Now that being on the video is just enough for me to just judge yourself correct. Is that correct, Kanita? Is that you?
Kind of. Pretty true.
Correct.
Yes. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. So this is exactly what I mean by the basic brand, right? So if you want to build a greater brand, pretty much everything that you do, subconsciously or consciously, got to be aligned with what you want to become. Now, this is something we mess up, right? Now, whenever I want to look at someone, or even the companies do that, right? Let's say you apply through LinkedIn and you have a greater credible profile in LinkedIn, right? And you apply for a senior engineer position. And the company could just go to Facebook and look at your profile. If you talk totally crappy stuff on Facebook, right? Messy contents, talking about the politics, offending people, that is your brand. It's not what you just put down in the CV or in a profile like LinkedIn profile. It's pretty much what you do daily basis, right? In every second. Even when you speak to a person, right? If you cannot position yourself right, you're not setting the basic plan right. You get what I'm saying? Now, one of the problems that Sri Lankans have on this particular area is our personality, right? So when I say personality, it's mainly how we handle the language. How do we represent ourselves, right? So if you are starting with a low tone, right, it's pretty much impossible for you to sound credible. You get what I'm saying? So even when I was doing rehearsal with my daughter, right, these are a few things that I told her, right? So adjusting the tone to match what you are telling is absolutely critical, right? And validating your social media profiles is absolutely critical because you're being visible to the world, right? Right? Now again, ask this question. This is another exercise that I do with my coaches, personal branding coaches. So I ask them to search their name on Google. The first 10 search results represent your brand. right? If you are getting the links from various sites which are not relevant, right? Facebook post where you have been, having a party in the night and you have been drunken and, being messing up with your friends, then that is what your brand is, right? So you don't have to tell the world, this is what my brand is. The world will know it, right? The world is transparent enough. You can't hide the things now, right? So every word we utter, everything that we do is pretty much visible to the world. People can get to know about you. So that is where you need to do the right thing all the time, right? So once you establish your basic brand, the next thing is building credibility. Now, before that, you can't think of building credibility, right? Now, think of again, the Hamza came here. She had done that basic branding already, right? If you search on LinkedIn or Facebook, the Hamza speaks, right? Hashtag. The Hamza speaks, the Hamza says. She has a basic branding, right? So with that branding, because the next thing that you might do is that, right? You go to YouTube, you go to LinkedIn, you go to Facebook, search for her name, right? When you search for her name, that name should do the justice. Your search should do the justice. So think of yourself that way, right? How could someone search for your credibility? And ask this question yourself: what am I good at? Right? So I recommend you to pick up the top 3 skills that you want to focus on. No more than 3 skills at a time, right? It could be speaking, it could be engineering, it could be something else, maybe coaching or consulting, right? Whatever it is, because anything more than 3 is more than what you could handle at a given point of time. And that will divide your attention so that you are not being good at anything, right? You're pretty much doing average job on all the things that you're trying to do. That doesn't work. So you need to have a niche, right? So from there, can I quickly check? I think I'm overrunning. Is that okay if I spend another 4 minutes?
Sure, Niroshan.
Okay. So I want to kind of finish this slide, which will give you a bit of better perspective overall. So think of this, right? So in terms of your credibility, ask the question, what are the top 3 competencies that I want to focus on in the next 5 years, right? And I suggest another thing, come up with 3 hashtags yourself. If people search for you, they know that you are good at your engineering innovation. How do they find you, right? How do you showcase all the great stuff that you have done on that competency? The answer on social media is hashtag, right? Tag all the relevant contents into that hashtag so that when I enter, right, something like the Hamza speech, you will see all the speeches that she has done already, right? All the contents that she has produced. So similarly, think of yourself, right? What are the top 3 competencies that you're good at or that you want to be good at? Come up with 3 hashtags. Develop further. Day in, day out, you need to pay attention on them, right? So this is where you can use social media at a greater scale. Come up with daily content. Come up with daily microblogs, blogs. Do short videos, right? When you do something, record the testimonials. Get the clients and the people who are happy about your work to compliment you. Get them on your social media profiles, right? So from there, what you start doing is building your audience, right? Again, go back to myself and Hamza. What we are doing is exactly that, right? So I'm sure some of you in this audience are going to work with me further, if not all, right? At least we will connect. At least we are going to see what collaborations we can do. So that's basically building the audience. It's nothing magical, right? So when you keep sharing the value, when you keep doing good stuff, when you share that with the world, when you communicate the good stuff that you're doing, you have an opportunity to build an audience around you. Things that you're good at, right? So when you have an audience, then you can target the opportunities. So the personal branding is ideally targeted at that. Why do I have to build a brand? My ultimate goal is targeting opportunities. But can I do that straight away like the insurance agents would do? That's not branding, right? So what they do is they hit on your inbox and say, hey, there's this great insurance scheme, would you buy? No one is going to buy that today's world, right? What they have to do is to go through this process, right? First, they be clear what they are trying to do, right? If they can highlight what they are doing, right? They are basically helping people to survive and do better in a crisis time, recover themselves, right? So they have to set mindset first, right? Then go into the next level. What is that? Establishing a basic brand. How? Create the social media profile, optimize them, start producing contents, then build the credibility. Once you start building the credibility, the audience will gather around you. So when you have 1,000 people following you, that is your opportunity to create, target the opportunities, right? Your opportunities might be collaborating, synergizing, selling something, getting them to buy one of your programs, right? Getting them to recruit for you, for their companies, all that, right? All that possibility will be around you, right? So this is basically what I have to share for the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you 5 to 6 branding strategies as a bonus. These strategies are straight away coming from our book, Double Your Value Through Personal Branding. Okay, if you just browse through the next few slides, right, just to take them through, right? So this will guide you to develop your personal vision, right? So that asks you to put down your big, hairy, audacious goal and what really matters to you most. Then again, going into the next slide. So I ask you to develop your value proposition using the value proposition canvas. One more slide, Akila. Right? So this is a must-do thing. Look at your community, look at your audience, ask these 3 things. What do they want from you? Right? You're going to ask what are the pain points, what are the basic jobs, what are the gains that they're expecting. So on the left side, what you see is you. So what is your value proposition? So you have to come up with solutions to address those 3 types of needs: basic needs, pain points, and gains. Right? Moving on to the next slide. Go ahead. Moving on. Yeah. So try to create your niche. Yeah. Figuring out your niche is absolutely critical. So how do you do that? Find out the 2 things that you're really good at. 2 things that you are really passionate about. That's going to be your niche. Right? Pick up a niche area, because that's a greater branding strategy than doing everything that everyone else is doing, right? So moving on to the next strategy, quickly, Akil. So this is the other thing, branding by association. List down the credible authorities, reach out to them proactively, get credible brands to engage with you, right? Seek for endorsements. This is going to change your life. This is going to change your brand. Because the moment you are being seen with a credible brand, right, you're almost matching the same level of standard, right? So challenge is approaching them, influencing them to collaborate with you, right? Moving on. Third, optimize your LinkedIn, absolute must, right? If there is one single platform where you have to spend your most of time, that is LinkedIn, nothing else. Don't worry about Clubhouse, TikTok, and all that, YouTube for the moment. Start your journey, start your branding journey on LinkedIn. Optimize the profile. So I'm going to share this slide deck with every one of you, right? So that you can go through them relaxedly. If you want to connect with me, you can also find a lot of videos on my YouTube channel. So I'll be sharing that also shortly, right? So let's move on. It's the same thing. So the 4th strategy is create contents, daily basis. You got to create microblogs, blogs, articles, videos, and also start commenting onto the credible post, right? Because that's going to ensure that people will notice you. Then you start building your visibility, right? Number 5 is next. That is next one. So I already spoke about it. Come up with 3 hashtags, 3 focus areas. Absolutely critical, right? So these are the 3 competencies that you're going to focus your next few years. Yeah. Finally, execution. You got to have the culture. You got to ensure that you're going to work towards your personal branding goal day in, day out. Execution is key. That's where the thumbs up here and talk to you. That's the execution bit, right? Otherwise, I can have a fantasy dream for her. I can get her to dream fantasy stuff, right? But if she doesn't act on it, nothing happens. Absolutely no progress, right? I'm okay even if she fails here, and she's not failing anyway, right? Even if she fails here, it's one step ahead than the rest, right? Think it that way. And I'm sure, what we shared here will change your life if you start focusing on the clues and the pointers that I gave during the session. So with that, I'm ending up the session. I'm sorry about the overrun. So I actually used 15 minutes extra. Apologies for that. So with that, handing over the control back to the organizing group.
Thank you very much, Niroshan. It's very, very motivational presentation. I am stunning, really.
Like, thank you.
Well, actually, for this talk, I would like to say, if you are attending something like life coaching or something, you have to pay a lot for that. But R10 Talk gives that to you for free for today, and we are really, really appreciate for what you give a talk about this one today. And just like you're trying to repeat it over time, is like the opportunities right now. And so we're all here have to come up with the potential strategic action. And it's now or never. Just like find the opportunity and do it now, right?
Absolutely.
And we have few questions, actually a lot of questions though.
Okay.
So actually one question is from me, especially to you. And it's actually matched to a question from Normal Kumar Agavo. He's actually asking what characteristic do we need to have others complimented regarding to personal branding, and it's kind of like matching of my question. So what do you think the easiest individual characteristic, the easiest characteristic of people if we want to improve our personal branding? Which one do you think the most easiest one to change or to improve?
The interesting and tricky question. I would say consistency, right? That's the number one, because every one of you can start doing the things, right? So I would pick 2, Kanita, right? One is the communication. So branding is all about articulating your story, narrating your story, right? So you should be ready to go out, share your message, irrespective of whether it's a contradictory message or a message that is supportive, right? So whatever you believe is what you've got to communicate, right? You've got to start communicating what you're good at, right? The second thing is the consistency. So most of us would end up starting something but not making it a habit, right? So what I say is, you start doing what you really have to do, get it up to a level where it becomes a habit, right? It's not that tough. For you to make anything that you do a habit, what you have to do is you have to repeat it multiple times. So if you do it 5 times, you will be good at it. If you do it 20 times, you're pretty much doing it without thinking, subconsciously, right? So this is basically the 2 most important things that you have to think of if you want to build up a brand, right?
Right. Thank you very much. So it's like communication skill set, and another one is consistency.
Correct.
If we're trying to do it consistent, and then we can improve it ourselves. That's interesting. I'll try. I'll be better next time. And,
right.
And another one question from Professor Christian Inoval. How should I know, or when should I realize that I have already successfully established my own personal brand.
Right, interesting. Yeah, so I think for me, it is a journey towards what I want to accomplish as an individual. Right? It will have various dynamics that I'm trying to tackle as an individual. So this is where I suggested, right, when you're coming up with your BHAG, big audacious hairy goal, right, big hairy audacious goal, come up with what really matters to you most. Now, individually, it differs, right? If I talk about myself, I'm a person who is kind of trying to, I enjoy sharing my knowledge and helping people around me, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I do it for free, or sometimes I do it for money, right? Whatever it is, one thing that I ensure is that I meet that criteria. Do I tick that box, right? Am I working on something that really matters to me? So if you figure out these things, whenever you do anything, right? You can, if you can check these check boxes, right? Tick these check boxes, say done, 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 right? These are the three things that mostly matter to me, and I'm taking them off. So that is where actually you can be satisfied that you have reached your branding goal, right? Think of something like Tony Robbins, right? So if you ask, has he stopped learning? Has he stopped mastering the personal branding journey? No, right? So probably until he dies, right, he's going to continue his learning journey. He's going to continue his growth journey, right? So you can branch out into various perspectives of your life, trying to help much more people, audiences, and the countries, right? So if you want to come up with an ultimate goal, this is what I suggest. Think of this, right? Whenever I die, whenever I am in my dying bed, right? What do I want to feel about what I have done? Got it? Satisfaction won't come through the materialistic goals if the spiritual aspect is lost. So it's a balanced act that we need to look for, right? So you need to tackle your materialistic goals together with your spirituality. Because the moment you feel fulfilled, the moment you feel you are doing the right thing, that is when you are happy, right? Then you kind of don't try to run a rat race, right? You're not trying to kind of just go for the materialistic stuff, right? But also trying to accomplish your own spiritual mission. What do I have to accomplish myself spiritually, right? For me, it's simple. It goes to the simple level of just being happy, right? So if I don't have to regret about the last 1 hour, I have done the right thing, right? Optimizing it, going to a bigger audience is the second thing that I can think of. So I would do that without compromising what I said earlier. Does that help?
Well, yes, that's answered the question. It's actually answered. The next question is that I am going to ask too. What it means to be a strategic in a day-to-day action that different from tactical. Do you have anything more to add?
Can you repeat the question?
What it means to be strategic in a day-to-day action that is different from a tactical things.
All right, got it. Yeah. So I'll give you the best metaphor that you can ever think of. Think of a big jar. Let's say I have a big jar. Mm-hmm. I have 3 things to put into the jar. 1, big rocks, right? Rocks in this size, right? If you look at it, this size. And you have smaller stones, like let's say marbles, right? Stones in the size of marbles, and you have sand. Now, generally what we keep putting to the jar is sand. That is just ad hoc tactical stuff, right? So every one of our days are filled with those mostly. But the problem with that is they're not going to deliver the most value to you. So if you end up doing all these things throughout your life, At the end of your journey, you look back and say, hey, what do I have done? What did I do? Not much, because all these are day-to-day activities that you have been doing. Kept yourself busy, right? The small stones represent tactical goals. They are good, but not the top priority goals.
Right.
Example, think of being an engineer or a professor in this case, right? What is your next strategic thing? So the rocks represent those strategic goals. They need to basically fill 60 to 70% of your day. Keep 30%. Keep 30% of space for the tactical stuff. They are important. They will come up, right? My wife will always ask me to go and do the marketing, right? I have to do that. But that's not it. What I'm going to do in the day. Is that clear? So it's basically what is delivering more value to me personally is what is strategic to me. What do I have to achieve in my 10-year journey? That is strategic to me, right? What I do day in, day out is pretty much strategic. So the tweaking there, the twist to that is this. So we think big, right? We think strategic, but we don't act on them. Why? Because these are big goals that we don't incorporate into our daily routine. So this is where I introduce the strategic goal: think big, act small. So you like same thing what Will Smith said. If you want to build a big boat, that is strategic, right? But laying a brick is tactical. You got to keep it doing every day, right? You get what I'm saying? So, but that needs to be aligned with your strategic goals. If you are laying bricks everywhere, it's not going to help you to build the wall, right? So you have to just focus your attention on your strategic goals. That is my stance, Pranita.
Thank you very much. That's that's very clear. And we have another one question, which is three people asking the same question for this one, though. So it's pretty interesting. It's the question from Daniel Williams and also from Hisham. Are there any strategies for choosing the right name which can help in personal branding? Like which common names that you can choose to stand out from the crowd or something like that? Nice,
yeah. So my guidance is this. So if you search for Agile Niro, you find me as Agile Niro. Now there's no hard and fast rule for me. It's just that you have to tackle the human psychology. Simply that, right? It boils down to the human psychology. Now, how could you make the people around you excited about your branding?
Right.
Okay. Come up with any name. Just try it. Don't worry, right? You don't have to finalize it the first time. Just try it out. Right. So the thing is it can't be a too long name that people can't remember easily. So come up with the easy name. Example, the Hamsa Seeds. Simple enough, right? What it does is, one thing, that name is basically dedicated for her, right? At a younger stage. Now, when someone wants to come up with the same branding, now they can't, because there are many contents that the Hamsa has put down on that hashtag, right? It's something like you are reserving your own name. Think of it, right? There can be another person doing the same thing, but you have built your own identity through that name. So it's just that, right? My only guidance that I can tell you is make it exciting enough, because humans are driven by excitement, emotional reaction. So if you can make something emotionally interesting, right? Grab the emotional attention, that is almost a good thing to start with. Right.
Thank you very much. That's very useful. It's actually not only useful for doing personal branding, but also a business branding too. For those who want to be like young entrepreneur or something like that. It's very good. I am so happy to attending this session, and I think that all of the participants here as well. And I would like to say thank you very much again, Niroshan, for giving a talk today. And we are really, really appreciate it, and for everything that you share. And please give us your feedback for the participants who join us today. And maybe you too, speaker Niroshan. I know you might have some feedback to give us too. So please give us your feedback. Scan the QR code here. And now I would like to invite Dr. Sia Ahmed to give a closing remarks and thank the speaker for today. Please. Dr. Sia?
Just turning on my camera and unmuted myself. Thank you very much, Anita. Niroshan, that was a fantastic presentation. A lot of lessons to learn. I saw participants were glued to this presentation. Nobody left during the presentation. So it was a fantastic, a lot of lessons to learn.
Right.
Yes,
Thank you.
it's the
Thank you.
right time is now to start to be great. That's a very good
Absolutely.
lesson. That yes, if you want to be great, we need to start now. I think you're sharing the success formula and branding formula was really very clear for young people to follow and for them to start acting now, not to wait for a right time. I think you touch upon the importance of profile on social media. Many people, younger people, they don't understand the impact, what they are posting on the social media can have on their personality as well as on their image for others or the perceptions others can form about them. So thank you so much for highlighting all those practical things and really giving practical strategies and to really branding yourself and how you present yourself, how you want other people to perceive you. It's so important, and especially for young people, it's for them. It's so important to understand the criticalness of this thing. And also, your daughter was really fantastic. Thank you so much for bringing her on this talk, and it was very, very nice to hear her. She's so young, but still she's influencing others. So,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
so influencing others to get to the target opportunities is really important to understand. We will please accept our token of appreciation in electronic form, but we will send you something as a present when things are normal and travel is open. So anybody coming to our meeting, able to travel to our meeting, will be from Sri Lanka. We will hand over your gift to them to deliver to you in Sri Lanka.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll send you something when the time will allow us or the situation will improve for traveling.
Thank you.
So back to you, Anita.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sia, and thank you very much, Niroshan. And also, we want to remind you that all of the talks are uploading on YouTube that you can rewatch from the first episode that we host the R10 Talk. And also for this one, we will be on YouTube as well. So if you miss anything or if you don't know where to start, you can start with the YouTube channels. And also, please stay connected with us via LinkedIn and also on Facebook. You can capture screen of this one and use the QR code to follow to our social media. And I think we come up to the last one for this session. And also, the upcoming webinar for the next one, the AI Empower Regulatory Tech Final Labs Perspective. So please don't forget, the speaker is the Dr. Albert Lam from Final Labs, and also another one is the IEEE and Internet Dominant World from our president, Dr. Susan Kathy Land. And also, please know that we will have upcoming webinar just follow to our social media to get more information and dates and time for the upcoming webinars. And thank you very much for your participation.
Can I have just 1 minute to thank the organizing committee for this webinar?
Sure.
This webinar is brought by 5 committees of Region 10, which is Students' Activities, Young Professionals, Professional Activities, Industrial Liaison, and Women in Engineering. So I thank Savitya, Amisan, Jennifer, Prakash, and Mr. Sanjay Chaudhary for all their efforts to bringing these very interesting webinars to our members. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, everyone. And we hope to see you again next time on the R10 Talk. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, Niroshan. That was a very great talk. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Savitya.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Niroshan.
everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah.
the opportunity. Bye.
Bye-bye.